Hi there, I'm Bells, and this is Künstlers, this is my reaction channel where I do reactions in English and in German. And today, finally, I go to react to Chinchilla, the interview with Chris Liepe. I don't know if I pronounce it right, hopefully. He's a vocal coach and did an interview with her 1 year ago. And I'm really excited about going into it. I really want to know more about Chinchilla. And normally, before I had my reaction channel, I would have listened to all what I could have found. But nowadays, I'm waiting for doing these reactions and sharing it with you. So I will go into it. It's a long one. It's 1 hour and 27 minutes. So I try to interrupt not too much or not too many times. And I think I will split it in two parts. You can comment down below if you like it like this or not for future stuff. But this time I think I will do it like this. I will put one part out this Sunday and the other part the next Sunday. So you can catch up if you want to. So I don't want to talk too much before. Let's go into it. I'm really interested in going to hear this. Let's go.
It's so nice to meet you, by the way. Thank you so much for your reactions and stuff.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
It's so nice to see. I really genuinely enjoy watching them, and it's so cool what's going on.
It is cool what's going on. Your YouTube channel's growing a lot, and people are discovering your music a lot more, and it's neat to see. And it's neat to see. I've said this in some of the reactions. It's neat to see music right now. I think in a lot of ways taking a turn back to vulnerability and realism and performances and not programmed together, calculated, tuned sorts of things. And that's what's been so refreshing about. I just did yesterday a reaction to Fingers live.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So that'll be coming out.
Yeah.
No, I just filmed it yesterday.
Okay.
So the idea is that this interview and that will go up,
Amazing.
around the same time.
I'm very, very happy to be here.
How did you so you found my channel through the Ren reactions, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Ren had I started by reacting to Ren stuff, and he left a message. I didn't even really know this until someone on my channel pointed it out, but he's been watching my channel forever. And since 2019, he commented on one of the first videos I did on compression, and I didn't see it until someone pointed it out to me after I did my video on Hi Ren, and then Ren commented on that video. So just this,
Oh my God.
this interesting thing, like you never know how long people have been watching, and how long things have been happening, but it was really neat to see him comment and follow my channel, and then of course to see your comments on.
This is really a nice story. I haven't known this before about Ren. Great. I've known that he watched some channels, and maybe he mentioned somewhere that he followed this channel or he watched this channel, but I could not remember this. But this is really a great story. Really, really nice.
On the videos I've done with you in them, talk about getting started with Ren and that whole process.
But what I want to mention first, sorry for interrupting this. She looks so like a girl you really like to, like a girl you want to be friends with. She looks so nice and so sweet and so lovely, and I'm really interested in this. So let's her talk.
So Ren, we met when I remember he went viral like a few years ago. I saw a busking video that he did with Sam Tompkins, and it was really huge for a while. And I remember seeing that, but then I got a message basically randomly from someone called Ren, and sort of was like, oh, I'll read that later, and then clicked on it, and I was like, oh, oh my God, it's this guy.
Yeah.
And then looked at his profile and was like, God, he's so talented. The message was something like, I can't remember. It was like, I think you're really cool and really talented, and I'd love to work together. No worries if not, I'll just admire from afar. And I was like, I love that. And then I replied being like, yes, I'd love to work together. And then that weekend I was actually on my way to Brighton to do where Ren is from, to play the Great Escape Festival, which is like a big new music festival in the UK. And so he came and watched my gig there, and then we kind of met up and just decided to do a few songs together. And then we were on the same management for a while as well, which was just, yeah, which was like, it meant it was very easy to work together a lot and to be in the same. So we just kind of became like siblings.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Sounds
Talk
great.
about the experience of doing chalk outlines. That performance, I mean, How to Be Me is amazing too, but how did that work, you guys preparing for that shoot? It's live, it's interactive, you guys are staring at each other, and when you guys lock eyes, there's just something that happens it just chills. I know a lot of people. But what did that look like in practicality in terms of like preparation, and how many times did you do the song, and is that the 50th take or the first take that we're watching?
We did do quite a few takes. I think with Ren and me, we just have quite a similar like DNA in the way that we perform. And I think like, I don't think either of us ever said like, let's look at each other in the eyes. Like
Yeah.
neither of us, I don't think it's something that we were really aware of or that we planned. It was just like, oh, let's shoot a live video for this. And then kind of like on the day we sort of like marked it out and worked out how to do it. And then the eye contact thing, I guess it just felt really natural. Like it's like, I do think that we have a different but similar way that we perform, and it's like quite like, it's very intense and like very emotional, and I think that it just was like very natural. Like it kind of was, yeah. I think if you tried to plan something like that, it would probably take away from the authenticity of it, and I think it was quite natural how it all happened.
Something that gets me when I watch performances like that is, you have these coordinated runs up where you're doing these harmonies and things are locked in from a musical perspective so much, and that takes rehearsing, that takes practice and planning there. And there's this balance of well, we want to know what we're doing from a musical standpoint, but we don't want to get to the point to where it's so like, oh, we got to hit these notes, we got to do these things, that it becomes so tight and sterile so that those moments of spontaneous eye contact still happen, right? It's probably something that you don't think about too much, but I know from performing myself that you can over practice and over rehearse and over plan. How do you know how far to go in terms of preparation so that you still keep things lively and unpredictable?
I think interestingly, what you were saying about like it's not always perfectly in tune, it's not always it's more about the emotion of it. And I think that is also something that me and Ren are quite similar in. Like
And I think that's also something what makes them really unique, that they are perfectionists in a way, but they are much more passionate about bringing the emotion in their songs, and this is really what I love. And this is what other artists, maybe some other artists for me don't show. I have one example on my channel. It's Dirty Loops. I didn't like it because in one way it was this. And I really like what she tells you, that it's like this. It's not only we feel it like this, she says it. She says too, it's like this. And this is what I really like about their stuff. It's so raw and so true and so honest and quite natural and not so overplanned and over perfect. I don't know, this is not the right word, but I think you get what I mean. It's not too perfect. It's perfect in a way, but it's not. And it's great.
I think we are focused on like getting the vocals right when we're singing. I think it's more about like the emotion. And yeah, I guess with rehearsing, it's less about like, okay, let's get this perfect. Like we put time into it, we
Sure.
do, but it's less about, okay, let's get this perfectly, like, no, you were flat on that, like, let's go again. Or it's more about like, did the emotion feel right in that bit?
Yeah.
And then I think in rehearsals, it's kind of like, once we've sorted out the structure, we're like, okay, cool, we know what we're doing. You know, that we kind
Yeah.
of leave it there. We don't like hammer it until it's like perfectly, like, I think you want to leave some of that, like, because yeah, if you overdo the rehearsals, I think it can, on the day, it can feel a bit like, you know, like
Uh-huh.
the soul has been sucked out of it, because we're both like, oh, this song.
Right.
But yeah, so I think it was, yeah.
Like, well, or, you know, you think about some of the more overproduced concerts and stuff where you have spike tape and you're trying to go to like one particular part on the stage and, you know, turn left and look at the guy on the right, you know, all that stuff. You guys, there's just this incredible amount of spontaneity that comes across. And I've noticed that, you know, and I've pointed them out in the videos I've done. She went a little bit sharper on that note, and you couldn't redo that. You couldn't do that ever again. But because of that, it's even more special. And
I love that you think of it as a good thing.
yeah,
By the way, I'm like, thank God he thought that it was good that I got that note wrong.
well, I don't know, wrong, right? Like, what is wrong? If it like punches you in the face and it's a little off, then great, right?
Yeah.
Well, you guys both, I think part of this is you guys both got your start in busking, and doing, you know, when did you start?
She I'm not quite sure. She did start in busking too. I thought not. I did 2 reactions on her busking with Ren, and I was told it was the first time she was busking. So I'm really excited what she says now.
You didn't.
Actually, I didn't. I had never busked until I busked with Ren.
Oh.
And he was a really, like, he was a well-versed busker.
Yeah.
I had never done it, and I'd done a lot of live shows, but never busking. And when we busked, I was like so nervous, more nervous than a lot of gigs. Like, I'd done I toured with Sting and stuff, and I supported Sting on tour. I'd done like big arena shows.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. And then I went to busk, and I was like, I'm so terrified. I was so anxious about it. I was so nervous. And I think it's a totally different skill. Like, and it's really fun. I had the best time, but I was so nervous because it's such a different skill. It's like, you have to be so good at being spontaneous and being like, just going with it and being like relaxed and talking to an audience who sort of care, but are sort of just walking past a lot of them. And like, you know, and it's just a completely different skill set. I don't know. It was really, I don't know why I felt so nervous about it, but once we got into it, I was like, I don't want to stop doing this. I want to do it all day. It was so fun. And I think, you know, doing it with Ren, like, he knows what he's doing, and he just made me feel super comfortable. And yeah, it's just a different type of life that it gives a performance. I loved it.
So once you got into it and got comfortable, in which environment are you more comfortable with your singing? In the big show, or in the busking, or the smaller stuff?
Busking.
You're more comfortable with your singing in busking now?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I still haven't done it a lot. I only did it with Ren.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I think, you know, in like a big show, when everything is so planned out and it's all like, you know, like you were just saying, and you have tape of where to stand, and you're like, you've marked it all, and you're playing to a click track, and it's all like, there's no room for like, there's not much room for as much spontaneity. I think it's you are more focused on getting everything right.
Yeah.
You know, and I think with busking, like, when I'm less focused on getting everything right, I get more right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I think when you're, you know, if you overthink a note too much and you're like, oh, am I going to hit it? Am I going to hit it?
Absolutely.
And then it's a hit and miss. But if you kind of just relax your actual vocal cords. Like I think you naturally hit the note better anyway. And it's just, I don't know, something about busking. I was like, this is good. Like this
Yeah.
is a good time. And I felt like I sang well, and like it was just very relaxed.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
So I saw only 2 videos. Is there more out? If there is more out, please let me know in the comments. I would love to listen to it. I saw Sexual Healing, and I saw Drunken Love and One Dance. It was these 2 songs in one video. I did reactions to them actually, if you want to listen to. And if not, listen to the original videos. They are really, really great. And yeah, it sounds like she busked afterwards again with Ren. And it sounds like he really gave her a good feeling to do it. And it sounds great what she talks here. And I love it. And she looks so happy, and she looks like she's really a great person. And I'm wondering if she wears always these clothes, or if we will ever see her in a jogger or something like this. But maybe she is consequent in this. She says, now I'm Chinchilla and now I wear these outfits. Or maybe her person is like this. She wears outfits like this. Yeah, it's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear you say some of those same things. I talk about that on the channel all the time about, if you just relax into it and have fun and become a character, an alternate version of yourself, then there's nobody to judge you, right?
Yeah.
It's you're being an alternate being who is performing and doing all of these things, and you're not accountable to anybody. And as a result, you do things that the normal you couldn't do, because the normal you is too concerned about being judged or getting things right or succeeding.
Yes, definitely. I remember I was in like a choir at school for a bit, and I had this teacher who, the like choir teacher, and I remember them saying, if you go to sing a high note, if you imagine you're about to sing a low one.
Yeah.
Do you know this?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like if you imagine you're doing a low one, you hit the high one way better.
Yeah.
And if you imagine you're singing a low note when you're singing a high note, it's like, and it works. I don't know why it works.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I think, yeah, we get so in our heads about like hitting high notes. And honestly, it's so, I get it with so many things. I get it when I record songs. Like I'll have a demo for a while, and then I'll go to record the proper vocals for it. And every time I'll end up being like, oh, it takes me ages, because I'm like, I can't get it the same. And it's just, I've just overthought it so much. And whereas on the day that I wrote it, in the recording that I've sat with for ages, it's like, it was in the moment and I felt it so much. And I guess like when you go to re-record it, you've got used to it, and you don't feel as much, you don't feel as strong emotions for it anymore. And it's harder to get it right.
Right.
It's such a curse.
Yeah. Yeah. Overthinking is horrible.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I had listened and watched Fingers, the studio recording, and I did that shortly after I did the Chalk Outlines video that I did for Ren, and started going through, but did not watch the Fingers live until I did the video on it, and was just blown away at having sat with the studio recording for a while. I guess what I'm hearing in those 2 performances, some of what you're articulating here about how like the studio one was good, but the live version, I want to hear sort of the behind the scenes on that. The way that you capture the improvisational stuff at the end, and you build up to that climax, and then you do the the end an octave higher than you even did it on the studio recording. There's so many things about that performance that just, I mean, punched me in the gut, leaving me feeling like, oh, I can't believe how good this is and how free you were. And I talk about that in the recording, or in the reaction I did. You are totally abandoned into this innocent yet sneakily devious and harmful character, and going back and forth between them. Talk about adapting that to the live version?
So it was, I think live has always been where I've come alive, ironically. And I think with that specific performance, I had that because I did it with Hunger magazine.
Yeah.
And I had Fingers was my most recent single. So when they were like, "Oh, what song do you want to perform?" I remember thinking like, "How am I going to do?" Because they wanted it acoustic, and I was like, how am I gonna do that song acoustically?
Yeah.
So I met with the keys player, and we were just like playing around with ideas, and we just ended up being like, let's just make this completely different.
Yeah.
This is a sad song. And I love that about songwriting as well, that you don't sometimes realize something is a sad song or has so much emotion in it because it's produced in a certain way. And then when you strip it back, it's like, oh my God, I've just realized what this is about, kind of thing. And I loved that. I loved like putting it together with my keys player, and it was amazing. And I think like we both felt this like real emotion from it then that I hadn't necessarily had before with that song. And I think, you know, the outro on the live version where I say, "So keep them close to you, put your keys in your knuckles like I have to." That was like literally, it was like, sometimes I think there's like magic moments in music, and honestly we were in this room, me and my keys player, like we were just like playing on a shitty keyboard, like and we he just was playing the chords, and I was like, oh yeah, like keep playing that. And then I honestly, like, it just came out of my mouth, and we were both like, wait, what? And I was like, I think it was around the time that the Me Too movement was very like in its having its big, you know, time, and I just had it so much on the brain, and I think that song then became it became even more empowering for me. And I think, you know, honestly, it was like living in my subconscious, and then I sang it like in real time, and I have the recording on it. I have like a voice memo of when I sang it, and then we were both like stopped and were like, we should do that. We should put that in at the end. Like it can just be an outro to the live version.
That'd be fun.
And I think it's like it's one of my favorite lines. And I think a lot of people, when they see that video, that's the bit that they comment on. It's like that last line, because I think it like touches people, especially women who, you know, it's a big well-known thing. Every woman has walked home with their keys in their knuckles.
I get goosebumps only from what she's talking about, and that's so true. These last line in their song, this really got me every time I get goosebumps. This is really, it's so sad and it's so true, and it's so great to put it in this song at the end. But I haven't realized that it's not in the original version. I have to re-listen this. To be honest, I listened to the original one, but a few times, and then I listened only to the live version because I really loved it. This is such a great song. There's also a reaction on my channel if you want to see.
And
wow. Well, I get all caught up in the vocal technique and performance and nerding out on little nuances, and oftentimes on first listen I sort of miss the lyrics and miss some of the other things because I'm so focused on like, oh, did you hear that? You know, and one of the things that I really picked up on with that video, or with that performance in particular, was your ability to breathe in and out of your notes and have this rasp and this sheen over these pitches. And then that's sort of the self-protected I'm about to kill someone character. And then when you start belting, you lose that sheen, and that sheen is replaced with this uncontainable power. And I just loved seeing that contrast there. I wanted to ask you, I know that you've said on comments before that you don't really think too much about your voice. And I think that's the case for a lot of singers. They just kind of go for it, acting off of pure emotion. But how did you work your voice into a state over the years where you could practice, where you could do what you do? There had to have been some practicing and some intentional introspection to get where you're at. What did that look like in your younger years?
I wonder if it's because I have quite a wide like music taste.
Yeah.
I think I've always loved, I love big belty voices. I love them so much. And I always listen to them. Like I grew up listening to them. I've always been obsessed with like um big vocalists.
Who are some of your heroes?
Beyonce.
Yeah.
Janis Joplin, Etta James.
Uh-huh.
Like Christina Aguilera, Jessie J. Big female voices,
We had someone ask about Linda Ronstadt. Did you ever get into Linda Ronstadt?
I actually don't know who that is.
Oh, okay. Well, then no, but you should check
Oh,
her
no,
out.
but I should.
Yeah, yeah. What about Aretha Franklin, Whitney Houston?
Yes, Aretha Franklin. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't say her before. Yes, Aretha Franklin. I actually had a little solo crying party when she died.
Yeah.
I just cried to myself and watched videos of her and was just crying in my bed, because she was amazing. I loved her so much.
I totally hear like part Aretha Franklin in your belts.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you.
But you have this sinister, I better watch out, even just when listening, which is, I love that. I love that about the way that you're able to carry the listener like that. So anyway, we were talking about influences and then what you have done to get your voice to where it's at.
I actually had a really specific moment in my life when my voice kind of changed. I remember I had basically gone on holiday. I maybe my balls dropped or something, like in some way. But I went on holiday. I had a singing lesson. I maybe was like 15, something like that, 16. I don't know. Went had a singing lesson before. Went on holiday, and the Burlesque, Burlesque, the Christina Aguilera Cher film, that had just come out, and I was obsessed with it. I loved it, and I loved the soundtrack. And I literally was on just like a family summer holiday, and I was listening to it the whole time, like by the pool, and I was singing it the whole time. Like the whole time, I was like doing all the runs and stuff, trying to get them. I was trying to belt. And I came home from that holiday, and I swear my voice had changed into like this like big voice. And I remember thinking it, and I was like, oh no, I must be like delusional about this. But I went back to my singing teacher, so it was probably a week and a half in between the lessons, and he was like,
what happened?
Your voice has really come on. And I was like, that's what I thought. And he was like, yeah, it's like you've really matured suddenly. And I was like, I know, that's kind of what I thought. And I think it was a bit of a turning point. Like I was always really, really shy growing up, and I had a lot of, people would sort of make fun of me because I always said sorry after everything. Like I remember walking past I brushed past like a tree once, and I was like, oh, sorry, just naturally sorry. And then someone was like, how have you just apologized to a tree and stuff? And I think I was just quite shy, and like, unless I knew people well, and then I was like very confident. But I think the big voice, it was like I'd had it inside, but it just hadn't come out yet. And I think, it was like it was weird. It was a bit of a turning point, and maybe I found my empowerment in that album.
Musing over Christina in a playful way where there wasn't any sort of obligation to you, and really getting into that passionately, your voice accidentally exposed itself to you, and then you from there it was just, oh, I can do this. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. Wow.
And
So
then I think with the softer stuff, like I've always also loved, like, I guess I love pop music, and I
yeah,
love the softer, really gentle, vulnerable, almost whisper singing.
yeah,
Uh,
right.
and I think just because I loved all these things, I guess I just was like, well, I'll just do all of them.
Yeah.
I'll just learn all of them. And then I guess the more I did it, the more I wrote it into my songs, the more I performed it live, and then I guess I just got better at that.
I think that's the intrigue for me with your singing, particularly the live stuff, is that you are one of the fewer vocalists out there that is doing both really, really well, and in one
Thank you.
song, and with this darker sort of deranged atmosphere around it. I love that. There's a lot more music out there that feels too curated or too planned, sterile because of it, and Fingers live and the stuff you've done with Ren is the antithesis of that. There's this instant connection because there's vulnerability, there's realism, there's, and, an example of this is when you're talking about the line with the keys at the end, right? Like, these are things that you're putting in because they mean something to you, not because you're trying to make a great song. And your stuff drips with that. And that's that. I think that's what makes it so cool. Talk
Thank you.
about the production and performance aspects of Fingers Live. You are at the same time, you have this sort of raw approach to the singing and the songwriting. You're dressed up in all sorts of stuff, and you've definitely got the vibe and the character there. Do you find that the dress up and the makeup and the planning in that regard adds to or takes away from the ability to be spontaneous and energetic in the moment? And
I think it adds to it. Actually, I know it adds to it. I think I it's a bit like putting on your uniform,
yeah,
you
okay,
know, and I think um if I'm not, the nails I wear, usually, not today, but the nails I wear are really long, and I think something about them, it really adds, like, I feel empowered when I wear them. A lot of everything I wear is like, and do and sing is about feeling empowered, I think.
yeah,
And those nails, like, I mean, they literally elongate your fingers. So
right,
every time you point, it's like strong. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I think,
uh-huh.
and sometimes it's harder to then perform without them, because I'm like, oh, I just have little stubby fingers. And yeah, and I think, I don't know, I guess there's something about feeling like grand that I love. Like, I've always loved fashion, and I love being creative with clothing and things, and I make most of my hats that I wear. So the hat
Oh,
in the
cool.
Fingers video, I actually made that. And
Wow.
yeah, and I just love it. And I feel like music, there's so much space for creativity and so many different angles with it. It's like, why not go for it
Yeah.
and sort of use what you can do and have a good time with every aspect of it,
Well,
because it,
even
yeah.
as I was asking that question, I thought about what we were talking about earlier about, putting on these characters. And that's exactly what this is, right? Like, you're entering by putting on these nails and putting on homemade hats. You're entering into this alternate character that
I would say it's entering into a different aspect of my personality.
okay.
That's how I would describe it. So it's
That's
like,
cool.
I think it gives me the permission
Yeah.
to step into that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
totally.
sometimes I struggle with like a lot of people say like, oh, the alter ego and stuff, and I think I don't know why it bothers me, but I guess I think it's like, oh no, it's not an alter ego, because it's definitely me. It's just like
different
it's
part of
like
you.
I have permission at that moment to be like, to have to to have to show those aspects of my character, which are, and I think everyone has those aspects, the
Yeah.
the anger that doesn't come out, or the anger that you've been holding in for a while, or like, or sadness that you've been holding in that's pent.
Yeah, and that's exactly one point which I really admire on her, that she is able to bring this stuff out. And I think too, everybody has these different sides in himself or herself, but many of us maybe don't show them in no times, or not many times, and not in this a big public thing. And I love that she's able to do it. And good, she uses maybe this cloth and these nails to empower her to get in the mood, or to get confident enough to show it. But I love this, and I think this is what makes her so special, that she's able to show these feelings in their full feel. I don't know to express it better, and the full passion. This is really, it's great, and I love this interview. He asks good questions, and it's great, and she looks really like a lovely person. It's really nice.
Or the anger that you've been holding in for a while, or like, or sadness that you've been holding in that's pent up, or humor, like vulnerability. I am now fully independent. I left my management and label last year. I split with my management label, and I'm now fully independent, and I have just been working on a bunch of new music, and this year is going to be the year of new music for me. So I've got lots of stuff coming, and I just announced my like comeback single, really. And it's called Little Girl Gone, and it's basically just like a really angry, big, empowered, like, it just is a song. And I started teasing it on TikTok, so I put up a teaser video for it that just had the chorus in it a week ago.
Okay.
And fully expecting it to get like 6 views, and it got 1 million in under 24 hours. It was on 1 million, awesome. And I looked at my phone and was like, what the fuck? And it just has kept growing since there. So now, like, all the teasers have got about 10 million views between them.
Oh, that's awesome.
How is this possible that she has only 155,000 followers on YouTube? This is not less, I mentioned in one video, but this is not that much that she has to get. She deserves much more. So now, good, the TikTok it's really different than YouTube, I think, and it's really different than your numbers on Spotify or streaming services in general. But people see that she is great, but why is YouTube so less followers? Can someone explain it to me? Has someone an explanation for this? I really don't get it. But it's great to see and to listen to her, what she tells in 24 hours, over 1 million views. This is really great. This has to be a great feeling after leaving this, after splitting with the management and all of this. And so it sounds for me like she's fully independent. Maybe later she will tell something different, because someone mentioned under a video of mine that she is with a label or something like this, but she has creativity or creative freedom or something like this. But here it sounds like she's what's the word for it now? Independent, fully independent. Let's see. Maybe something changed afterwards.
Growing since there. So now, like, all the teasers have got about 10 million views between them.
Oh, that's awesome.
I went from 16,000 followers on TikTok to, I think it's like 170,000 today. In a week. It's been a week and a day, I think. And yeah, it's just kind of like, it feels like my life has suddenly like done a big switch up and everything. I mean, musically, it's like the most. I can't even describe how like rewarding and satisfying it is, and
Right.
it's just so nice. It's so nice, and it's all like a lot of the comments and people that it's resonating with are women who feel this. I think there's a lot of like pent up anger,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of women who feel who've been through a lot of trauma and things and are really resonating with the like liberating anger that the song kind of has in it. And it's just so nice. It's literally so nice. I keep crying, like
Oh.
it's amazing. I've never experienced anything like it.
Well, I haven't heard it yet, but you deserve what you've gotten and what's coming.
Thank you.
The freshness and energy that you're putting out there is just absolutely incredible, and it's
Oh,
so
thank you so much.
so wonderfully refreshing. Are there any collaborations with this new music? Anything that that you can talk about?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'll be working with some cool people though.
Yeah. And
That's
to be
all I'm
more
gonna say.
direct, and this question isn't coming directly from me, although I do want to know, but
Right.
will there be any more collaborations with Ren?
I thought that might be what. We'll do stuff. We'll do stuff together in the future.
Yeah. That's all you can say
He-
right now.
He's in yeah, that's all I
Yeah.
can say right now. He's
Yeah.
in Canada at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we're always, we're always chatting and things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. What in your past, in your upbringing, in your life has led you to expressing yourself in this way that so many people are relating to right now?
I think solely being a woman, like you have been through it. And I
Mm.
think I can't speak everything I speak for in myself, I feel like a lot of women would relate to it. I was, as I said earlier, I was quite shy growing up. I was quite quiet with people who didn't know me.
Yeah.
And my mum always tells this story that we would go to like a friend's house or something, and I would literally hide behind her leg and not say anything and just stare at them, and they'd be like, "Hi, hello," like
Yeah.
"Hello," and I would look at them like this,
Right.
like no reaction. I was just like, I'm just not going to talk.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd be like, "Do you want a drink? Do you want a drink?" And I would like stare at them and then just whisper to my mum what I wanted to drink, and then they would like, I was just so shy, I think. And yeah, I think I don't know where it comes from exactly, but I think I've always been quite a people pleaser, and I think I'm quite susceptible to being I guess being I don't know even the words, talked down to, and just
Okay.
being like, I don't know how to. I think when something like that happens, I struggle with how to cope with it in the moment.
Uh-huh.
And I think I find myself in a lot of situations in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people do, loads of people, where I'm walking away from a situation thinking of all the things that I should have said or wanted to say
Mm-hmm.
and didn't, and I wouldn't, if I was given the chance again, I still would, like keep my mouth shut. Or you're in a position where you can't stand up for yourself because someone is a higher authority,
Yeah.
or you just don't want to have a horrible hostile situation where you create an argument. And I think, like I feel that I'm really I feel that really strongly, that feeling of not being able to, just biting your tongue.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of my music is about
Not biting your tongue.
all the things I wish I
Right.
should have or could have said.
Yeah.
And I think I think that's what people resonate with. And you know, like that's why it's so special to me when people comment things like that about their own stories and things. And I'm like, I feel you. Like and I think it's I just think it's this universal feeling of like people know that, you know, and yeah.
Well, not only do you come across as like, these are all the things that
This is funny to me. I think about this at the moment that for sure I'm not the only one, but I can only talk for myself, that I never felt in these songs which I've heard from her. It were not that many, but maybe 6 songs, 7 songs. I never thought about she's arrogant, or she thinks she is something better, or she is a little bit too much or something. This I always was like full of respect and blown away by how she presents herself and how she talks, what she's saying, what lyrics she uses. I love this really, and this is so empowering. How she says, I would never talk like this in real life to somebody, but I would love to talk like this in situations which are like this, that you should maybe talk like this. But you have really to be so confident and so powerful and not shy and not scared and not, I don't know, any of this. And she does this in her songs. And I love that she says here, or she talks only about, she got these positive comments from people, maybe mostly women, who connect to this and who can relate to this. And this is great. I think maybe some men get to in situations like this, especially in a job or something like this. But I think it's more time that this happens to women, actually. That it's from the beginning clear this is a woman, and it's different scene in a way. I don't know. Let's her talk. But it's really great what she says here. And it's great that she's able to talk about this loud and that people listen to her. Because it's important. It's important maybe for many women to hear that they are not alone with these feelings, and maybe it would be better sometimes to open mouth. But it's also interesting that Chinchilla uses this in her songs, but is maybe in personal life not able to go forward like this how she wants to, and that she maybe is also people pleaser, or she was, maybe now she's not any longer. And this is great that she shows here also the truth, and is not hiding it, and makes like, oh, I'm so confident and I'm the queen and I do it all. She is this in her songs, but in her personal life it looks like she's a normal person like you and me. And I love that she is like this, vulnerable, and shows herself.
And things, and I'm like, I feel you. Like and I think it's I just think it's this universal feeling of like people know that, you know, and yeah.
Well, not only do you come across as like, these are all the things that I wish I would have said, sort of thing, but you, in your performances, and even in the words and the stories you tell, it's very hyperbolic. I mean, you're dialing up. You're doing things in your songs that wouldn't just create this hot, you know, conflict or whatever, but they would be completely, you know, completely inappropriate. But you can put those in music. You can put those in the song, and it does the same thing that it does for everybody, right? Like, you wouldn't really go cut people's fingers off, but just the thought of it, and the way that you look, even when you go from this sort of calculated to this, as you're singing. I mean, we've all done that inside. We've all gone from this frustrated, reserved, pent up, to losing it, completely insane. And I think that's what it's such an artistic, relatable thing, and done in such a clever way.
It's fun. It's so funny listening to you like analyze it, because it's so interesting, but it's also stuff that I don't even half the time I don't even realize like I'm doing it, or it'll be like it's just like instinctive. I guess it's just the way that I perform, and like it's weird. It's really it's just really like surreal and interesting hearing you talk about it.
What's fun with singers like you?
This is crazy. So it's not intentional how she performs Fingers live. I thought this was intentional, but it was not. Obviously, it's like natural from her. This is even more crazy to me because it fits so well to this song, but it's so special. I think not many people would perform it like this. Not many people would sing a song like this, Cut Your Fingers Off. But I loved it, and now it sounds much more crazy and great at the same time that she did it in a natural way and not planned it before in the details. Crazy.
And interesting hearing you talk about it.
What's fun with singers like you is that I know that for the most part it's instinctual. But there are so many vocalists or so many people out there who want to be singers that have the same emotions, that have gone through similar experiences, but when they open their mouth to try to express, and they have the desire to express through their voice, doesn't come out like what you're doing. In fact, they shut down. Where you feel liberated and empowered to express with your voice, they are afraid and as a result reserved, and then they try something and it doesn't sound right or it doesn't feel like it should, and then they almost feel like their voices don't free them. Their voices trap them. And I think that's what I find so interesting. There's this dichotomy of people who, we all have these same emotions and these same stories and can relate to these same things, but certain people naturally stumble into being able to express like you're able to. And certain people, they just, how do I get there? And they think that, oh, how I get there is first I have to be good and then I can express. First I have to, I gotta do these exercises. I gotta figure out how to do, I got to go through this program or take a bunch of voice lessons or whatever. And you said you did take lessons, but you also said earlier that the moment where you really found your voice, it wasn't because of what you'd studied. It was because of what you were immersing yourself in and how you had experimented with it. And then you were freed. What advice, though, would you give to people, given what you've gone through with your own voice, in how to find that level of self-expression so that you can enter into a musical environment and just go?
Oh, that is a hard one. I think more is more.
More? Wow.
More is more.
More is more. Yngwie Malmsteen.
But it's not always true. It's definitely not always true, actually. I completely disagree with what I just said. But I do think, like, especially when you're being watched, like it's a performance or it's being filmed, is even more like, I think, I've done a couple of live videos and things, and it's like, I think watching them back, I think actually that's a good thing. I think watching yourself back is a really good tactic, because you always think you're doing more than you are.
Yeah.
And
yep.
And actually, like half the time you're going to be standing a little bit. I think if you're nervous, you naturally are more insular. You're more like, and so if you watch it back, you can kind of be like, oh no, that I need to like
exaggerate more.
I remember one specific live video I did where I thought I was going like this with my arms like this.
Yeah.
And actually they were like here.
And
I'm like, And I was like, wow, really interesting that I naturally thought like my arms were really like powerful out here, and actually they were just almost beside my body, and it was like really small, the
Right.
gesture. And I think there's just so much, and I think, like I always film everything because when I watch it back is the best way I can ever learn from anything.
Yeah.
Um,
You're watching and listening. So you have this,
yeah.
and what I love about that is the time to judge or learn from yourself is not while you're singing, while you're filming the video, while you're performing. The time to do it is when you're watching it back. And if you can separate those things, so fully abandon into the moment, give yourself to the moment of singing, performing, filming, whatever it is, without judgment. You're not judging yourself then. You're not afraid that you're going to not hit the note or that you're going to do whatever, forget the words. You're not afraid of any of that. You're just going for it and abandoning into this moment. And then, because of that, you can give yourself permission to learn from what you did and then apply that to the next time. It's that separation. And you are a living example of this. You are fully abandoned when you're doing things. We can see that. I love hearing that you watch it back then and go, oh yeah, well, I could do this differently. I could do this. You know what? I'm going to be more expressive, or less do this a little bit. I love that. I love that.
Always. And I can't, it's like I'll watch a whole gig. I'll do a full gig, a half an hour set. And I'll get home and watch the entire 30-minute set, because I'm like, and then I'll watch it again, I think, what was I going to say? I do find it really interesting, this. I can't remember what I was going to say. Carry on.
Okay. How does this watching back and listening back, you're critiquing your performances, right? You were talking about your hands.
I remember.
Okay, go ahead.
It's to do with this. I was going to say, I think a big part of it, I'm super critical when I watch those, when I watch myself back, but also I think a big part of it is being like, that looks so good. Or like, that sounded great. And then you're way more confident because, when you do that specific part in a song next time, next gig or whatever, you're like, I know this bit is good because I've literally seen it and I know it's good.
So you're calling out the victories. You're giving yourself an opportunity to pat yourself on the back and say, that was amazing, in addition to the critiques or whatever. You're not being hard on yourself only. And I would imagine that you're probably, what is that? The compliment sandwich or what? Not, that's not what it is. Where you have you have the compliment, and then you have the suggestions and all the critiques, and then you follow it up with another compliment. And then you're probably doing quite a bit of that, where you're rewarding yourself and critiquing yourself at the same time.
Yeah, and I think it's self-analysis, really, isn't it? It's like, you never meet yourself because you are yourself.
Yeah.
So it's kind of trying to understand, I think, how other people are seeing you as well. It can get a bit obsessive, I guess, but it's I think it's interesting, and I think it's, the more you know, the more powerful you are in some ways,
Totally. Yeah, it helps you. The more you know, I like that. It creates.
And I think it also, the more you know, the less you get affected by maybe comments which other people do, if they're positive or negative, because then you know exactly how you think your performance was, and how you feel about it, if you feel good or if you feel could be better. And then it's not so important if the comments were good or if they are not so good. I think they will not affect you that much if you are sure in yourself, oh, this was not so good or it was good. So I really like this, that she says she rewatched this, because I think there are many artists which do this, and there are many artists which absolutely doesn't do it. and maybe they say, no, why I should watch myself? This is like a little bit cringe. But I think this is really a good technique. I like it. And I like what she takes from it. And it sounds all really, it sounds like a good plan what she does here. I really like what she talks. I like all what she talks here. I'm searching for a good point to stop this interview here, and I will put part 1 up this Sunday, and next week I will put part 2 up. But I will wait this question if it's ready, and then I will stop it. Because I think otherwise it would be really, really, really a long video, and I'm not sure if anybody is watching it. So I will do it in 2 parts.
The more you know, I like that. It creates a self-awareness that you can work with.
And especially when there's so much hate.
Uh-huh.
You know, on every video there'll be hate.
Yeah, sure.
And I guess if you can build up your...
Yeah, I think now she tells exactly what I was saying before, or what I wanted to say before. Yeah, exactly.
If you can build up your belief in yourself to the extent that you're like, but I know that bit was good.
Uh-huh.
Or, oh no, all right, yeah, they're right about that bit, or whatever, but I do like that other bit, and I don't think that's fair. I don't know, if you can really try and like love yourself in parts, at least parts of your performances and stuff, I think that's a really I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
But it's a
struggle,
good thing to be able to do. Yeah.
How much of when you're watching and listening back is particularly focused on your vocal performance or your vocal delivery versus the rest of it, right? Or is it inseparable from that?
I think actually a lot of what I focus on is my vocals when I watch it back.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm kind of like so in the moment when I'm performing it,
Yep.
that I'm not, you know, how we've been talking about it already, but how I'm not too focused on getting all the notes right and whatever, and making sure it's technically like 100% there.
Yeah.
Then when I watch it back, some things will feel good in a room as well, and then like when you watch it back, you're like, oh god, that note was terrible. Like, I don't know how people even applauded that. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's where I'm super critical, I think, of myself is in the actual vocal, actual vocals.
Do you cringe sometimes when you listen back to yourself? And how do you channel that into not then being fearful the next time you go out to record? Because that's a feedback loop that a lot of vocalists get into. It's like, well, I heard myself back, I watched myself, and I sounded terrible. So then when they go the next time, they are so afraid of sounding terrible, they can't abandon into the moment again. Have you ever found yourself in that loop?
I have, yeah. I have, because I think it's usually like if it's a really high belted long note, I'm like, I need to nail that and I need to hit it, because if I don't, it's super embarrassing.
Right.
And it's like, you know, like you're making a statement to do a note like that, so if you don't hit it, it's like, ooh,
yeah,
that was very cool. And you know, like there's been times when I've watched stuff back, especially like if you're on tour and you're doing it every night, there's some that are just super bad. And I think, when I watch them back, I think it helps. It does help, because I think sometimes I'm so caught up in the performance that actually the vocals, I feel like I just go for it. And sometimes you do have to be like, okay, you have got a big note coming up, you need to sort of like make sure that you have enough breath for that moment or whatever. Sure. And I think sometimes it reminds me, like if I see a video where I was a bit pitchy on a note or something, I'll have that in my head for the next gig and be like, I'll be like, make sure you get this bit right, because last time you were a little bit flat on it or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's good. It helps me. But I do have it sometimes, you know, if I've done it more than once where I haven't been able to do it very well, sometimes it gets in my head and then I overthink it, and then it can actually that will mess up the note, or I'll avoid doing it altogether and change the part or something. And yeah, it's a bad loop to get into.
Well, that I heard you say something about, you know, you might change something, or, you know, if you've had a couple times where it's been bad, and especially when you're on tour, there's this aspect of like, well, I have to do this for, you know, so many nights in a row, or whatever.
Oh, I think I will cut it here now because it's this next question.
Where it's been bad, and
Yeah.
Avoid doing it altogether and change the part or something. And yeah, it's a bad loop to get into.
Well, that
Okay, I think I will leave it here. I will note this time stamp, and I will do the rest of the interview for next Sunday. I hope you're fine with this. This was really great to watch. It was really interesting, and I will definitely watch the second part, as I mentioned before. I really liked it. I liked her from before. I saw only some short clips on Instagram of her, and she looks like she's really a funny person, and yes, empowering person for girls, for women, and but not so serious always. She was really funny. This is what I saw, and I really liked what she talked about, and I really liked that she's so honest, that she says, I'm not that strong in my everyday life. I'm scared, I'm shy, and I'm a normal human being, a normal woman, a normal woman. But I like that she expresses this in her songs. This is really, really, really great. And I really enjoyed this interview. So if you enjoyed it too, you're really welcome to stick around on my channel. Like, subscribe, write a comment if you want. I appreciate them. And if you have recommendations for me, let me know in the comments. So thanks for watching. The original video will be linked in my description as always. And yes, see you next time.